Now that we've got quite a number of different techniques under our belt, in this tutorial I'm going to implement a few of these so that we can see the effect of a work in progress part of our movie. Now I've reverted back to this clip and I've removed the magic bullet looks effect because here I want to adjust our brightness and contrast on the original video clip. And further down the line in this tutorial I'm going to do a couple more things as well, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust our brightness and contrast for the whole of this event. But do you remember the part on our audio file where we added a telephone preset? Well, during that section, I also want to add another effect in addition to adjusting the brightness and contrast. And then we'll also add a dissolve transition so it's fairly smooth between moving from the first event into that section and then back out of it. This is what it looks like at the moment, and the second vocal line where it turns into our telephone effect, that's the section that we're going to add a different effect to. Okay, I'll hit play to remind you.
White Star rocket ships fill the air with the...
Okay, so it's that second line where Zach sings "Fill the Air" that we are going to add a different effect to. But first of all, we're going to adjust our brightness and contrast. And as I say, we're going to do this for the whole of our clip, the whole of this event. Now, as you know by now, and surely remember, there are a few different ways of accessing our video effects. I could come down here and click on this button, or because I've got my video effects tab open, I can simply come across to the particular subfolder that I want to use. And I know the particular effect I want to use is in this GPU accelerated subfolder. So I'll click here to open it, and you'll no doubt notice the third one down is brightness and contrast. Well, that's what I want to use. And by selecting it, I see all our different presets to the right there. I'll just scroll down, and this is the preset that I do want to use, this one called Darker, More Contrast. So by left clicking on it and dragging and dropping onto our event, I now see my video event effects user interface with my Sony brightness and contrast effect added to my chain. And even using this preset without adjusting the sliders further, then I can see in my main preview monitor that this has had a considerable impact on our event. I quite like it, but of course you can adjust the brightness, the contrast and the contrast center by left clicking on any of these sliders and dragging appropriately until you see something that you like the look of. For example, if I left click on the contrast slider and drag to the right, then you can see in my preview that this contrast is much more intense. That's probably too much for my taste, so I'll reduce it by dragging to the left again. And as I say, just play around the contrast center, for example, drag to the right or to the left so that the end result works for you. And of course, the same applies for the brightness. Incidentally, if you get this far and you decide, well, I actually want to go back to where we were with the particular preset that I chose, well, click on the drop reveal here and choose from one of these different preset names. For example, I could go for this one, brighter, less contrast. Now that's too washed out for my taste, so I'll go for darker. We're getting there, but I also want to increase the contrast too, so I'll go back down to darker, more contrast. Okay, so when you are happy, then simply click on the cross to close. Okay, good. Now I'm going to collapse my panels so that I can see my main monitor here. Okay, great stuff. Right, so what we've done then is we've adjusted our brightness and contrast right across this event, but as I said at the beginning of the tutorial, for the section where the audio changes to that telephone effect, I also want just that section to take on a different effect, as well as this brightness and contrast being adjusted. So let me just zoom into this area, and what I need to do is place my CTI at the position I want to create a new event, which is here, and then selecting our video event, I can hit S on my keyboard to split it there. Remember, S is our shortcut to create a split point. And I'm going to do the same thing over here at the end of this line, so I'll place my CTI here and hit S once more, and now we have this new event in the middle of this longer event. At the moment, we've not done anything to it apart from create this new event, but now I'm able to add an effect to this section without it affecting the event part prior to it and the event part after it. So I'll click on here to open up our video event effects for this particular event. Okay, now we can already see this Sony brightness and contrast effect has been applied because that's what we applied right across the clip. Now, just because we create a new event from the main event, that doesn't mean that this effect gets removed. It still remains in place, which of course is a great time saver. However, if you want to remove it, then you can do, which is what I'll do. I'll click on here, and of course that now removes that effect where we adjusted our brightness and contrast. It's now been removed just from this small section, from this new event. I could have left it in place and added another effect on top, but just for this tutorial, I thought I would remove it because of the effect I'm about to implement. I think works better without the brightness and contrast being adjusted.